Hagámonos elefa.
Y a mi
Oye, lleva, brancanite.
y a mi Bongo H y de mi Saramao y a mi
Ye, 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 llegó a Dineu. Ye, 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 llegó a Dineu, a Diñale como. Ye, llegó Tonorefa. Arribo yo a Dineu, a Diñale como.
ye o adireu ye o adireu aiñale gogo si ye o tolorepa arribo yo adireu aiñale gogo si
Ye, 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 llegó como Arideu. Se cure galaido, Arideu, Adiñale como. Ye llegó Tonorepa. Arribo yo, Arideu, Adiñale como.
ye o adireu
Orille, yeo.
ye o adireu aiñale gogo si ye o tolorepa arribo yo adireu aiñale gogo
Pájaro,
de maro paga
pájaro,
de maro paga
pájaro,
de maro paga
pájaro,
de maro paga
pájaro.
de maro paga
Uchinchegui guaba, uchinchegui guaba, oboteca tire con lo para mí lo yugo.
Oyuba,
Ye,
Oyuba,
uchinche,
Ochinche, Onara, Baraco, Oyubracata,
uchinchegui guabo, uchinchegui guabo, oboteca tire con lo para mí lo yugo.
Oyuba,
Ye,
Oyuba,
uchinche.
Ochinche, Onara, Baraco, Oyubracata,
Uchinchegui guabo, lolobi, uchinchegui guabo, ibukole, uchinchegui guabo, omoteca chile con lo para mí lo yugo.
Oyuba,
Ye,
Oyuba,
uchinche,
Ochinche, Onara, Baraco, Oyubracata,
agete ibe ochungwailege, agete ibe ochungwailege, ona ona ochungwaile,
Aketeile ochungwaile,
ona ochungwaile,
aketeile ochungwaile,
ona ochungwaile.
aketeile ochungwaile.
Genio ma genio mu,
Obaichi olongo,
genio ma genio mu,
obaichi olongo,
tani mawaye golongo ega,
ichi olongo,
tani mawaye golongo ega.
ichi olongo.
Inigua, iyalote sinigua, iyalote yalote.
Kiniwa, iyalote kiniwa, iyalote yalote.
Sinigua go, iyalote sinigua, iyalote yalote.
Kiniwa, iyalote kiniwa, iyalote yalote.
Toro garuku yeye,
Eure, eure, eure.
toro garuku amala,
Mala, mala, mala.
toro bambi yeye.
Omote, omote, omote.
Toro papio,
Ya, ya, irogo, ya, ya.
toro papio,
Ya, ya,
Peace. Good dawning, everyone. Good dawning and welcome to Sunrise Salutation, Dawning Devotional, Dawning Drive Devotional, Community Show, all of the different AKAs. This is Chief Yuya from the Sadulu House and also from Anu Nation. And I want to welcome you, of course, all of you first-time listeners, and those of you listening from archives, those of you who I see already. Good morning, everyone in the chat room. I see you guys have already begun, as we could say, and as well as those of you calling in from Blog Talk and YouTube and everywhere else. Just welcome to community. And today's topic that we're discussing is finding true love so that you can stop looking for love. And of course, it be fitting, if anyone is aware of how the day progressions go, and sometimes the dominant energies that we ascribe to certain days of the strong. Many may know that in several traditions, Friday, as we're looking at today, is Friday, is a day for several love entities. So, it's fitting that this is what we discuss on this day, Although we could have discussed it any day, but just kind of keeps things in order a certain way. And that's a lot of times when you're seeing different charts and things like that tell you, well, on this day do this and that day do that. This day work with this energy, that day work with that energy. It's primarily for your own mental organization. It's not necessarily that those energies are particularly only present during those days, so it's just really so you can keep things organized. And when you first come into, at least your ritual progressions, when you first find an interest in doing rituals and doing offerings and pouring libations and doing that on a consistent level, it does help to have that type of calendar to work with in a sense, But yeah, so we're discussing the idea again of finding true love, so one does not have to search for it. And of course, it's a pertinent topic. All the topics that we discuss, are pertinent, even though sometimes they may seem to ping pong all over the spectrum in terms of what should be important or what is important for different people at different times. But they're all important and they're all interconnected. And very similar to when one is trying to improve their health, you can't really do certain things in isolation. There's a holistic thing that you have to do. You can work out, but if you don't eat properly, then you're pretty much defeating your workout. Or you can eat properly, but not put yourself in a good environment where you're soaking up good sunlight and you're breathing some good air and you're around good people and good experiences. So there is a holistic execution of it all that we have to kind of get into, or we can get into, in order to make our work most effective. So a lot of times in these spiritual walks and the teachings that we go over and go through, you will all hear me speak often about mating, gathering mates to you, gathering family to you, and the importance of that and what it reveals for those who are seeking a deeper or more inner level of awareness, and the science that comes from the interplay between man, woman, and child. Now, I've gone over that many times. Obviously, I don't think we need a refresher on that. You could practically hit, 10 or 20 shows, segments, and you'll see it. You'll hear me speaking about that. But I wanted to speak a little bit about sometimes the hunt that individuals go on and that we find ourselves on at times in order to find what we consider to be true love. All right. So before I do that, let me just give you all the call-in number. Those of you who want to call in and listen, if you're first-time listeners, you might not know the number. It's 515-605-9862. 515-605-9862. Now, let's look at let's look at love on a very basic level, okay? Just so that way we can, again, I like to start with us having some working definitions, some collective working definitions, and then moving forward from there, you know? So love is connection, okay? Real easy. Love is connection. All right. So now we have a very basic, easy working definition. Love is disconnection. I mean, hate is disconnection. Hate, I'm bitter, or I'm biting, or I'm splitting from what it is that I don't want in my world reality, or splitting from what it is that is undesirable or unpleasant to me in my world reality. And love is I'm moving closer to those things. I'm connecting myself to those things. Now, of course, law of attraction plays a part, law of correspondence, dark energy, even melanin, flow, frequency, all of that. But we're going to work with some very simple definitions for the sake of going beyond. And of course, there's been several segments where we've spoken about what love is, and and covered that and dealt with love entities like Lakshmi and like Oshun. So that those teachings are there in that sense. So essentially, you'll find that often your love entities are connected to water in some way. That's a commonality that we find often, that our love entities are connected to water or milk. That there's some type of there's something that becomes a commonality within the human consciousness, that those love archetypes represent, something that everyone has to come to, or everyone desires to come to, whether it be feeding, and getting the nourishment of that mother's milk, or whether it be building your nations and your civilizations around waterways. But it's something that brings everyone into one space. You'll even find that, and particularly in most of your love archetypes, there is a fascination and a love for self-expression and intelligence. Because self-expression and intelligence, or even if we look at it from a simple way, artistic pursuits or artistic expressions or artistic entertainment even, and intelligence are things that bring people together. If you look at basic example, look at a school. A school is an environment where all members of the community at some point will have to contact it. And even sometimes after going through the ranks or moving through a particular schooling or educational experience, they may still stay connected, elder to baby. They may still stay connected to certain institutions. So you see, it's the experiences a lot of times that you'll find love manifest, where everyone has to kind of either go through a certain path, or it's those things that are needed. So you start to understand, again, looking at the law of correspondence we were talking about yesterday, that love is it's not extracurricular per se, but it's based off the common needs of the people. So the common needs, we all need connection. Okay, that's a part of our human realization, because it is through connection that we're reminded of our higher self. We're reminded of the place that we lived before we existed in this place of duality, splitting so far from our origins. So we get those moments where we can dance together, fight together, have sex together, and we feel, okay, the dividing lines have been split for a moment. Or even pursue artistic pursuits together, or intellectual pursuits together. We come back into that space of oneness that we can utilize once again. So I wanted to speak a little bit about, because most of the time when I'm speaking about different different stumbling blocks. I always picture it as people rolling boulders into their own path. Sometimes I say that, you roll the obstacle into your path, and of course Eshu is the remover of obstacles, but they got there somehow. There's a cause and effect to everything. So a lot of times, when I'm teaching, I'm more of a destroyer. So I'm showing you what not to do, or what you may be doing currently that is causing you to not achieve what it is that you are saying that you desire to achieve. So I want to speak about that perspective and that angle a bit, in terms of our striving towards what we want, or you can almost say our supposed striving towards what we want, because sometimes we think we're aiming for one thing, we think we want one thing, but we really don't, on another level. And you see that so commonly a lot of times, even if you listen to those who may call into these segments. Sometimes you see this desire to say, yeah, I want this particular thing. And then I'll say, well, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done that? And there's all of these immediate excuses without reflection of why certain things won't work. Or again, sometimes you're speaking, you can hear the person blocking and stopping, blocking and stopping. They're throwing, if we can look at the stream of consciousness as a waterway, or we can even look at the stream of consciousness as an electrical conduit. Sometimes when the path is being opened up, what we'll do is we'll put conditions on the path. So we put these different toll gate marks. So as someone is talking, we're listening, we're hearing. We're not necessarily listening, but we're hearing from a place of consequence. So a place from consequence sounds like this. Someone says, well, is there anyone right now who's, let's say we're looking for a mate. We might say, is there anyone right now who's pursuing you? Yeah, but, they're 15 years older than me. Okay. What's the problem with that? I don't know. I just think that maybe because they're 15 years older than me, we may not have anything to relate to. Well, have you spent some time with this person? No. You see, so those consequences create different deviations or variations within that waterway or within that stream. You see, so the stream wants to go straight, and along the way, just like if you took a canoe or you took a boat and you went down a waterway, you're going to pass different villages, and you may pass different villages or different settlements on your way to getting where it is that you would like to go. You see, but sometimes we'll say, well, I don't want to go to my destination because I may have to pass this fishing village on the left. And I may have to pass, a village of salt miners on the right. I may have to pass another village where, they process indigo. So you create, in your psyche, all of these different roadblocks, based on what you consider to be the consequences of not even reaching your destination, but the consequences of embarking on the journey of getting to your destination. Okay. Now, of course, you can interchange. You think about the show that we did yesterday on destiny, right? And then you can correlate it with, when I'm speaking about destination today. Okay. Same thing. Sometimes we don't fulfill our ultimate destiny because we're thinking about all of the consequences along the way. And what we do is once we start to focus on those consequences, we're focusing on the value of what is resisting us. You see, so then our life starts to reflect that resistance. Even our love relationships start to reflect that resistance. We begin to attract people into our lives who may not be emotionally available, because they have their own sense of consequence. They lack openness. They're afraid or afraid, maybe unwilling as well, to open up. And sometimes that fear of opening up, of course, it's usually rooted in a fear of receiving something. It's not just a fear of giving themselves or giving their connection to someone, but it's their fear of receiving a connection to someone because of the way that they perceive the world, or the distorted sense of trust that they have in themselves, and a distorted sense of trust that they have in the world. And, trust doesn't necessarily mean that someone is going to do something, is going to do right by you. Okay. I trust people who have wicked character. I trust them. I trust people who are my enemies, or, even collectives that are enemies to me. I trust them. I trust serpents. I trust rabid raccoons. I trust rats. You see, because I've looked at the predictability of their behavior, so I've been able to establish and look at the patterns and say, okay, well, this is what this particular person represents. And again, there's a correspondence. There's a reason why this person is on the planet. They're corresponding to something else. So I trust that the body organism of the universe, or the body organism of our highest deities, what they're establishing and manifesting, and what we're helping to co-manifest or to co-author through our divine authority, what they're creating and manifesting on the planet is supposed to be here. So the rat, the rabbit, raccoon, the enemy, all of that, it corresponds to something that I've called forth. So I'm cool with that. No problem. Right? So one of the things sometimes we'll do through our pursuits, and I'm primarily speaking, I just want to make it clear, primarily speaking to people who have expressed a desire to have a love relationship in their lives. And of course, many people express it in secret, and then wonder why they always get approached to be side pieces. But they have that fear of opening themselves up to the world in that sense. They have that fear of being let down in that sense, or the idea that maybe I'm just not good enough. So I don't necessarily want to put out, into the world that, I desire someone in my life, because of the perception that I have, that, where I'm focused on my flaws. I'm not necessarily focused on just opening up, and releasing whatever those boulders are, releasing whatever those blockages are that keep me from actually making it to my destination, because I've anchored my boat on my own obstacles. I've anchored my boat on my own sense of consequences, you see. And I know a lot of times it can be very challenging if you have a view of the world consciousness as being very angry and being very harsh and being very condemning. If that's your viewpoint, then of course, why would you open yourself up to any healthy or any beautiful or any advantageous experiences, right? So sometimes that creates that blockage, and a lot of times it's just as simple as learning to interact with people unconditionally throughout your day. Sometimes it's just as simple as that, to start to slowly chip away or wear away at that boulder or that obstacle. Speaking to strangers when you're walking down the street, smiling at strangers when you're walking down the street, having conversations with people you wouldn't normally, because maybe you've established a certain judgment in your mind as to why you don't want to speak to people like this. Because see, often that's what we do in relationships. We create these, we don't know how to find what it is that we want, and we don't understand that a lot of times what we want is not in alignment with what we actually are. And a lot of times what we are is not in alignment with what we actually want. A lot of times you'll hear me when people call and they say, well, I want a good man, I want a good woman. And then I say, well, are you good? I don't know. Well, there we go. So then I'll say something like this, and of course everyone thinks it's mean, but it's for you to listen to. Well, the truth is, then, if you attracted that good person in your life, you wouldn't be able to keep him anyway, because you haven't established a perception or a view of yourself as being good, because maybe some of the things that you know about you, maybe you're not really a good person. Maybe you're not a good mate. You haven't established and developed those qualities as of yet, and you know that already. So you know that bringing anyone into your life, you won't really your character can't really sustain you, or your character can't really sustain the relationship. Now you're aware of that, in yourself, but you're running it and you're avoiding the situations that you may have to deal with in order to refine or to develop that character, you see. And again, there's a law of correspondence that's present here. Like I said, a lot of times, even in the sense that we have this fear, this concern that, I'm not good enough, or I'm focused in on my flaws, or, I'm too short, or I'm too tall, or I'm too big, I'm too small, whatever it is. Essentially what we're doing, remember I did the show, for those of you who remember, if not, and I reference these shows, make a note of them when I say, yeah, this show, that show, that show. The show I did on forgiveness, when I broke down the actual science of forgiveness, and explained that essentially the nature of forgiveness is the nature of giving love ahead of time. You're forgiving. Forgiving doesn't just mean somebody did something to me that I didn't like, and I'm saying it's okay. I'm making this stale compromise, of pretending to acquiesce to something that I don't necessarily want to allow or want in my life. That's not necessarily forgiveness, but it's that idea again of, before you even do it, I'm going to give you love. Before you even do it, I'm going to be connected to you. I'm going to stay connected to you. You see? So that would require some level of understanding. Of course, that requires a high level of acceptance. So one of the things that we can do with ourselves, when we're holding on to certain things, or holding on to certain concepts about ourselves, we have this fear, this concern that, no one would really want me, no one would really take me serious, or this or that, because of this and that, and I have this problem and that problem, and my ankles are too big, and I have varicose veins, and I'm missing a tooth, or whatever it is. The only reason that you have those thoughts about yourself and those thoughts of inadequacy is because you're still holding on to a pain mechanism that you have based on what someone else has done to you at some point. And you haven't decided to connect to them or acknowledge, because the truth is we're all connected anyway, but you haven't decided to acknowledge the connection that you have to them despite. Now that's forgiveness. So in a real simple sense, for those who may not, who may still just be waking up, I understand it's early for many people. In order to consider yourself as being good enough, as order to consider yourself worthy as receiving certain things in your life, you have to learn to forgive others. You have to learn compassion. Compassion is what? The transmission of emotion, which is, again, you have to open up. You have to open up to let it out. You got to open up to let it in. Okay? And like I often tell you guys, you have to be very gentle with your heart. You have to be very gentle, because the harshness that you have towards others, the condemning ideas that you have towards others, is the same condemning ideas that you have towards yourself. So if you want to let go of this idea, this concept of not being good enough to be responded to in a certain way by your environment, you have to forgive those who are around you. Now, you see so many, again, you look at your archetypes as formulas. Like I said, so if we look at Het Haru, we look at, again, Oshun, we look at Lakshmi, Ezeli Freda, we look at all of these, Venus, Aphrodite, even Astarte. You look at all of these archetypes of love and sensuality, Pampagira, Jezebel, Lolita, right? All of these different energies that we have that exist, Mary Magdalene, right? What you'll see is that these are energies that not only have a desire and that not only have a desire towards self-expression, they have a desire towards intelligence. So again, self-expression is a way that we use to enliven and animate the heart chakra. So you start to learn different formulas sometimes just by looking at these cosmic energies. You'll look at them and you'll discover, okay, well, this one behaves this way, that one behaves that way, because essentially you're learning to take on the movements of these energies, to take on the vibration of these energies, in order so that you can clear up, or you can attract to you the ashe of those particular energies. You see, so if you look at, again, a lot of your love archetypes, there's an artistic, they play instruments, they sing, they dance. There's some type of artistic connection that they're able to establish a relationship with, and to gain a sense of independence from their thoughts and their ideas through that artistic expression, even if it's just playing the tambourine, or like the women in the temples of Haru, they played the sistrum, sistrum. The sistrum is an earlier form of the tambourine. Okay, so it's again that idea of, once we're able to enliven and open up that heart chakra and remove those blockages, we can now connect to the most important things and catch up to where we're going on our destination. You see, and of course, helps to practice compassion always. A lot of times what we'll also use is mantra and chant. And in using mantra and chant, what you're essentially doing when you do it, because the thing what happens is, after a while with mantra and chanting, we all have a unique expression of how we're saying things, and we all have a unique note. And sometimes we don't really focus in on that note. When you're utilizing the tools and the gifts of consciously chanting something, or you're essentially, you're starting to learn your note. Especially I oftentimes I advise people and advise you all, when you're chanting, put cotton in your ears. Chant that way, and let the sounds of the chant reverberate throughout your head cavity. Okay, and then you start to get a sense of your note when you're doing it over and over again, and you're practicing it daily, and you're constantly doing. You start to become mindful of even the patterns that your frequency creates, the patterns that your note creates outside of what you're even saying. You see, because your actual note, your actual frequency, it's like if you hit a piano key, or you hit something on your guitar string, before you're even articulating a phrase on the guitar, that one note actually begins to create an idea. And it could set a mood, whether the mood be pleasant or unpleasant, but it starts to put an idea in motion, you see. So there's a conscious cueing in, and there's a conscious focusing in on your voicing, or some call it, in certain traditions they say it, your own song. They'll call it your song. But you'll learn how to choose the greatest value of your voice first, before you start to get into any form of passive creation, which of course most times becomes what we do not want, the passive creation. So that's another way a lot of times that we block and we can open up. Sometimes we cool off too much that heart chakra. Sometimes also there's this idea that it's better to exist within the shadows. It's better to exist within the shadows. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to different people online, and reached out to me and whatnot, and in particular women, because women are usually a little bit more vocal about their desire for love. Men are usually more vocal about their desire for building. I want a family, I want a good woman. So it comes in different ways, of course. And a lot of times women, I find that there's a degree of hiding that happens. They have a fear of being exposed. They have a fear of being seen. And exposure is key on both sides. Exposure is key, to expose yourself to the world and to be exposed to the world. It's key. So a lot of times, sometimes we have that fear of having light on us. You see, we have that fear of moving from anywhere outside of the shadows, and we don't understand that, people can't really cuddle up to that. I can't tell you how many times I have spoken to people, and they say, I'm looking for this and I'm online looking for that, but they don't have a picture of themselves, or even a video, anything of themselves online. They're functioning behind avatars. No one wants that. No one wants that. And in the same instance, you wouldn't want someone who's hiding, who's afraid. You know, a lot of times, again, this comes from a sense of feeling like you're not good enough. And, you know, it's not the same thing as feeling like you're not attractive. Because people will say, oh, no, I attract people all the time. It's not the same thing. Sometimes people are afraid of the vulnerability of accepting. And there's a vulnerability that comes in accepting, even when you're getting praise for something. If you put your image up and someone says, oh, you're cute, or oh, you're handsome, or you have nice eyes, or you have a nice shaped head, or whatever it is, there's a moment there where it requires some level of vulnerability. But when we have these inherent feelings of guilt, then what we'll do is we'll deflect from whatever's being said to us. So a lot of times you may say something like that to someone else, say, oh, brother, oh, please, oh, you look nice today, whatever. You see, there's that constant deflecting where it's almost like it's a joke, but it's not really a joke, because they can't accept opening themselves. They can't be vulnerable in any sense, even to the point that they cannot accept you giving them some feedback, or you lavishing them with praise, because you're enjoying lavishing with praise. You see, so that they have no grace in that sense. They cannot graciously accept what it is that you're depositing into them. They can't appreciate themselves. They can't admire themselves. Even for what it is that they're receiving in that sense. And that's a common. I mean, I see that so often. It's ridiculous. And probably at one point in my life, I was even guilty of it myself, but a lot of times we just have these thoughts of inadequacy. And as a result, we refuse to open ourselves up. And, sometimes this also comes from, like I said, we're hiding, but we have these rigid thoughts and these rigid ideas about what our love relationship should look like. Now, if you notice, there's been a commonality with everything I've said so far, just with the little tips I've given you. None of them are requiring you to go outside of yourself. So essentially, you're starting to see now that love is not something that I look for. Love is something that I allow. Love is not something that I look for. Love is something that I allow. Because remember, when you're dealing with esoteric or even metaphorical or cosmic concepts like love, and love is a concept, cosmic concept, connection. I don't use love so often, but connection. You're dealing with something that exists outside of the rigid boundaries and cages of time. Okay, so you're dealing with something outside of time. So essentially, if you're dealing, let me turn my leash, my electronic leash down. So essentially, when you're dealing with something like a concept or a thought about time, right, outside of time, then whatever it is that you desired, whatever it is that you called for, whatever components and formulas that you know that you needed in order to get to your destination or any destination are already there. They were there the day you came onto the planet. They've been here the whole time. You're not just in usual cases, you're not just pulling them out of nowhere in a sense. In a sense, because in a way you're manifesting them from a nowhere space to a now space. But essentially, they're already here. The love of your life is already here. All of these different things are already here. Your friends are already here. Great family is already here. But a lot of times we block ourselves because we box ourselves in by rigid ideas of what we consider love is supposed to look like, or even what a relationship is supposed to look like, based on titles that we place on people, or titles that we place on ourselves. So we may start interacting with someone, and then we'll place a title on it and put demands on it. Now you got to understand that the bulk of your titles and your demands come from a society that never knew anything about love. So we say, oh, well, we've been together for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. We have to be this. We've been together for 3 months. It should be this. It should be that. It should be that. And we're unwilling to open up our awareness and open ourselves up to say, you know what? I'm in a stream. And on this stream, I'm going to pass many experiences. And the more I open myself up to each experience, the more I will appreciate and enjoy the destination. See, like sometimes we'll say like, and I've never agreed with this, but in order to appreciate the good times, you got to go through bad times. That's that Western sense of division. It's got to either be this or it's got to be that. And there's no holism there. We can holistically look at it and say, no, not necessarily. In the same instance, when we decide that we want to get to a certain place in life, the first thing we're told, well, you got to work hard. Not necessarily. And especially if we apply that to everything. Oh, a marriage is hard work. Doesn't need to be. And if a marriage is hard work, then why would I get married? And let's think about that for a second. Why would I take the path of most resistance? If you're telling me it's hard, and I'm just saying, if we're taking that as a true statement, I'm not particularly saying a marriage is hard work. I'm just giving you all an idea of what I'm saying, for example, for reference purposes. But if we say that a marriage is hard work, and then we decide to get married anyway, there's something a little loony about that. Do we ever ask, well, what's easier than marriage? Does that idea, that question come up? Is there an alternative? Is there something else that I can do to receive some of the benefits that I may want without going through what you're telling me is arduous? Because again, we have this idea all the time that, in order to get anything, we have to break our back for it. And the more we break our back for it, the better it is. And sometimes we become embittered to certain experiences as a result. We become embittered to love, you see, because we're told love is hard work and relationships are hard work, or we even hear things like love is pain. So now we go through all of these painful experiences, in our pursuit and our chasing and our running towards what we consider love to be. And then now what happens at the end of that, we say, okay, man, that was too much work. You know what? I just want to be by myself for a while. So now we put that vibration out. But inwardly, we still, we feel defeated because someone told us that it was going to have to hurt. Someone told us that it was going to have to be a whole lot of pain. You see, it's not necessarily accurate. Someone didn't know what they were talking about. Remember, it's a flow. I've given you this one before. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Gently down the stream. I'm rolling gently. You see? So as I'm rowing gently, I'm allowing myself to focus on the different things that I'm manifesting along the path, because the stream itself is being created while I'm going down it. Technically, there is no destination. The destination only exists in my mind. You see, none of that exists. So it's all something that I'm creating while I'm going. And along the way, you may find people who will help you to co-author the next step of your journey. But you shoo them away because they don't look like the destination. You see, but it's not so much about entitling people. And when I say entitling in that sense, that as soon as I meet someone, I look at them and say, well, they could be my wife, or they could be my this or that, or they could not be. So we create this, again, very rigid sense of how a relationship is supposed to manifest without understanding that this individual may be helping you to author your path and your way to get to the person that you're actually supposed to be with. Even though that relationship with them may be intimate on whatever level that you decide intimacy you would like to pursue. But sometimes through each relationship, we fine tune and we manifest the qualities that we know we want to look for, right? And it's not always because someone did something bad to us. So we say, you know what? Well, I know what I don't want. It's not always that. Sometimes we meet people along the way and they possess certain qualities, or even sometimes physical attributes. And we say, wow, I never thought that's something that I would enjoy because I had a rigid idea or a rigid notion of what a relationship is supposed to be, of what a love exchange is supposed to be. So now I'm creating an internal incompatibility with the way the actual universe works, with the way the body organism works. So we have certain desires, but the way we're functioning, our character and our consciousness is not in alignment with those desires. They're not in alignment with the natural flow of things, So then what happens is we have to speed up. We start rowing even harder. And essentially what we do, we're rowing in circles. You see, because we're deflecting from where we really need to go, which is down the stream. So, but we've created an obstacle in front of us at the same time of the consequence thinking. So now we don't want to run into the boulder that's in front of us. So we just start rowing around in circles until we wear ourselves out. You see. And we're not prepared or not willing to deviate from our rigid ideas, our rigid thoughts. We're unwilling to enjoy ourselves. We're unwilling to enjoy others. Enjoyment is key. The enjoyment of connection, the enjoyment of love is key, because it is through that enjoyment that we start to get a sense of where the actual path is, or where the actual channel is that provides us the least resistance to get where the least consequences are. And the more we travel in a space of least consequences, the more we can manifest what it is that we actually desire. Because that's what we're putting our focus and our imaging on, moving without consequence. You see, which is a liberated mind. It's freedom. So everything is tied into everything, in that sense. There's an interconnected there with so many other thoughts and so many other concepts. All right. We're going to take a break just for a moment, and I'm going to come right back. Feel free, if you have a question, put it in the chat room, put it in early, or you can feel free to call in 515-605-9862. All right. And then we'll come right back.
Yeah. The other day I got laid off my good job. So what can I be from the day of sorrowful heart? But really their intent was to crush me 'cause I'm strong. In the world of weak men, I guess I'm wrong. What did I do for this love? I don't understand. What did I do for this love? Why you hating on me? Yeah. What did I do for this love? You ain't got no reason to hate me. What did I do for this love? Baby, I'm glad I can talk to you about life being so hard. My dear lady, have my baby. So we stand and we pray to the Lord for a little while, believing He will keep us and protect our little child. Look in your eyes and see a better image of me. Look in my eyes, believe your beauty. I kiss your face and wipe the tears from your eyes, 'cause our love's gone past this. What did I do for this love? Love machine. What did I do for this love? Love machine. What did I do for this love? Love machine. What did I do for this love? love through my downtime. Didn't have money for roses, but you got the closest to me, 'cause you're so kind. Our love will break through brick walls. I'll just keep holding on to this undeserved love.
All right, so we're back. And of course, that was our little sonic libation, right? For the moment. And you know, every song I pretty much play, because it's all my music. I have to do that too, because you know the whole copyright stuff with YouTube, and I have so many just old songs really that's sitting on my hard drive. That was a song I did maybe, let me see. That's when my godson was born. So he's 15 years ago. He's 15 now. And, you know, the story there, a good friend of mine, you know, who I was down in the studio one day. I don't remember what I was doing, but he came over. It was like midday, you know, and a lot of my friends have, you know, they have jobs and stuff, you know, but I've always pretty much worked for myself. So, you know, they enjoy my space, and I always welcome people. Hey, come by. You know, you need to de-stress or whatever. And he came down, you know, down the steps, and I said, "Yo, what are you doing here?" You know, I said, "You supposed to be at," because at the time he had 2 jobs, and his wife was pregnant with their first son, and you know, he said, "Yeah," he said, "Yo, man, you ain't gonna believe this, man." He said, "They fired me." I said, "What you mean they fired you?" He was like, "Yo, they fired me." He had this job, a parking lot security job, where he would, you know, drive around the parking lot, whatever. So he still had his security clothes on and everything. I said, "You supposed to give all that back?" He was like, "Man, I just walked out. I was so upset. I just walked out, you know." So I said, "All right, man, just chill, you know, just you know, kick it down here with me for a minute, man. We'll figure it out. We'll work it out. We'll come up with a solution, you know." And in that moment, I actually wrote that song. You know, I was there with my guitar. I think I might have been fixing one of my guitars, and I just started playing those chords and wrote the song, and you know, we recorded it right there on the spot. Never actually finished the song. That's why you hear all them spaces in between. But I thought it was apt for today's show. You know, for what we're speaking about, undeserved love. And as you see in the beginning of the show, of the song I wrote, you know, the other day I got laid off from my good job. But essentially what I'm saying, you know, I say undeserved love. Like, you know, I look in your eyes and see a better image of me. You look in my eyes and see influential beauty. You know, so it's the idea of it's how we're co-creating together. You know, how we're focusing on, you know, on what we're trying to do together, you know, outside of how the world is judging us or how the world is looking at us. You see, we're looking at what we need to do in terms of just how we're establishing something. And a lot of times in relationships, we don't look at it like that. We don't look at it like, listen, we're just 2 authors coming together to get something done. You see, outside of title, outside of this, outside of that, right? So in that situation with him, and you know, and most of the time when I write songs and stuff like that, it's usually I write very quick. I'm actually a very sloppy composer. You know, I know I have other composition friends and producers where they will spend all day or 2 days and they'll make sure it's perfect as they're creating it. They're perfecting it. I'm not like that. I'll write a song literally in 6 minutes, you know, recorded in 10, you know, 15, 60 minutes song is written and recorded, sloppy, stuff out of tune, off beat. And then I'll come back later because when it's there, I got to get it out. I got to let it flow. It's got to, you know, so everybody has their own style in that sense, you know, but I tell you, again, the value of not putting titles on things, but just seeing, okay, there's an energy, there's a reciprocal energy that we exchange between the two of us. At that time too, his wife was she working? I don't remember, because she never really worked much. I think she might have had her little job at a hotel, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. Because she did. Matter of fact, she did, because he got her a job. She got him a job at the same hotel. That was his second job. So he had one job at a hotel, and then he had another job as a parking lot security. And he was having problems at the hotel. I went by there one night to go visit him. I was up all night working, and the hotel was close to me. And, he was steaming. He was sitting down in a chair under the reception desk. I'm like, yo, what you doing? He said, yo, man, this guy just came in here and threw his credit card at me. Just threw it. He was like, yo, I was like, yo, man, just be cool, man. You got the baby coming, man. You got to suffer for a little while, I cracked some jokes, my usual, and kind of lifted his spirits up a little bit. But, and that's how we have to support one another, especially when we're bringing other humans onto the planet. In that moment, we need a lot of support a lot of times. But sometimes all it takes is just a little bit of shifting the energy around a little bit. So like, when I sat down and wrote that, it was a healing balm for him, and then recorded it was a healing balm in that sense, where he could kind of keep him refocused and keep them focused on what's actually happening. You're not co-creating per se, or you're not co-authoring with that job or with that supervisor or with that coworker. They're just village stops along the way. There's a particular destination. There's a place that you're going and a place that you're looking to arrive, and keep your focus there. And what you do all along the way, let's enjoy it. So like when I wrote that, the first word, the other day I got laid off from my good job. As they front and they played off a sorrowful harm. But really their intent was to crush me because I'm strong. In a world of weak men, I guess I'm wrong. You see, so the idea there that I was expressing it, like, the dude throwing credit cards at him, it's like, and he's a big dude, by the way, this guy, I'm talking about. He, big, muscular, compact, look like, Ram Man from He-Man. And so he easily could have jumped over the counter and just ripped the guy's head off, and the guy probably knew that, but hey, you need this job, don't you? So I'm going to throw this card at you and curse you out and tell you this and tell you that, so in the world of weak men, me standing for some principles, because the world of weak men, their job is to crush me. So standing for some principles is going to make me wrong. I guess I'm wrong, and that sometimes creates that insanity. So a lot of times, even when we're looking for love, or we're trying to establish a love relationship, we don't realize that our current lifestyle is not compatible with our current vision or our current potential. The higher ideas that we have of ourselves. Our lifestyle speaks against that. You see, and for us, a lot of times our lifestyle is defined in many ways by by our job, by what we do, and mainly because there are many reasons that some people will spend 8 hours, 10 hours, or the better part, sometimes even longer, 12 hours. If you add in the time you have to wake up, get ready, your commute, of course, your commute back. Sometimes you even have to add in the time that you have to prepare for the next day of work by ironing your clothes and laying them out, or whatever it is that your ritual is, but sometimes we're giving up the bulk of our day and our time and our energy to a system and a lifestyle that's not actually compatible to where our higher aspirations are. You see, so now then what happens? We start to bring in people who are compatible with the lifestyle that we don't even want. Partly because we were told we had to work for things. You got to work hard. You want a relationship, you got to work hard. Go to every what they got, speed dating event. Get on every dating website. You know, we could just go through the entire list. You see, do all of those different things, and then you'll earn a relationship. But it doesn't work that way, because if the relationship was there already, right? If there's no concept of time, and the relationship was already there, what am I actually working for then? This is taking me off of allowing what's already, we can almost say, quote unquote, behind me, because it was there the day I was born. It was already existent, right? No concept of time. So if I'm working and I'm struggling in a forward direction, right, then I'm essentially building something. I'm building a resistance up to even accepting and allowing what was already there for me, because I have this concept that it has to be earned and worked for and has to be painful. So if something comes into my life that's enjoyable and that offers less resistance, I'm going to say that's not love, because I have this idea, this very rigid form and idea of what love is in my life, you see. And sometimes love is that side piece. Sometimes it is that FWB, that friend with benefits. It's that person that you meet sometimes and you say, you know what? I just like your body, and I just want to have sex with you as much as I possibly can. You know, or maybe it's not that. Maybe I just like going to museums with you. You're so insightful. And, you know, I just love to go to concerts with you. I just love talking to you. You know, ultimately, I'm enjoying. Now, the idea and the vibration of enjoyment is key, because when we're enjoying something, we're rejoicing in it. You see, we're rejoicing in whatever it is. And, you know, keep in mind that if you look at even the word, you know, I always have to give you the common definitions. If you look at the word enjoy, whenever you see in as a prefix in a word, in means to manifest. En. So enjoy is ENJOY, of course, right? So enjoy is to manifest or to make. Manifest or make. The word joy is to rejoice in something, you know, or to be thankful for something, or to be glad about something. So when I'm enjoying something, I'm making joy. You see, because remember, look at the time continuum. There's no concept of time. So, you know, a lot of times we look at, again, our history, or our love history, and we don't realize that, like I said the other day, that there's no then, there's now. You know, we're always like, well, yeah, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna get on it. I'm a gonna. There's no I'm a gonna. That doesn't exist within our cosmic continuum. There's a now thing happening right now. That's it. So, like I said, empowerment is in the moment the other day. Enjoyment is in the moment. You see, enjoyment is in the moment. And as I'm enjoying the moment right now, I'm creating future moments of enjoyment. Because right now is the future. Right now is the future. Right now is the future. So if I'm enjoying what I'm doing presently, then I'm making joy in my life. I'm making gratitude in my life. That's the concept there. Okay, just so you get it. So enjoyment is not something that you sit back and just, you know, there's a DJ spinning. I like the way he spins. I'm enjoying this because of what he's implanting in me, or what she's doing. You got female DJs too, you know, because of how she's spinning, or how she's cutting, how she's blending. I'm enjoying because I'm making the choice to enjoy this. I am making the choice to make joy in this situation. So it's no different than when you look at, again, your relationships. A lot of times, sometimes we say, hey man, you know, it's got to look like this or it's got to look like that in order for me to enjoy it. You sure? Because you can practically enjoy anything. You know, it's like boring people. And sometimes I always say that, like, people say, oh, do you get bored? When they ask me, no, I never get bored. Ever. I'm never bored. And I always tell them, boring people get bored. You know, of course, some people don't like that. But, you know, some of us can just sit wherever we're at and just meander and explore our own minds, explore our own thoughts. That's fun. Or watch other people, or watch the floor, or why did they paint the wall this color, and what made them pick out these paintings, and kind of explore, but you're not necessarily bored because you find a way to enjoy, to make joy in all of your moments and in all of your experiences, and in that you're maintaining and keeping the flow. That's why Oshun is always laughing for several reasons. One, because she tricked you into thinking that your experiences are real, but because she's enjoying every moment. She's even enjoying warfare. When that side and that aspect of your love archetypes come forth, they're enjoying it all the way. You see? So it's the same thing when we're going down that stream. If you look at it that way, each village stop, each settlement stop that we see left, right, or wherever it at, that's something to enjoy. You make joy of it. Almost like you make fun. You make it playful. You make it fun. You see? Like when I do these segments, you all know, like I play around sometimes. I joke around, especially when people call in. I crack jokes and things like that because I'm making it in enjoyment for me. And as I make it enjoying for me, it opens me up to more information. It opens up the stream of my own consciousness by making it enjoyable. So if someone even calls a segment and they're rude or they're not listening, as I'm talking, I'm hearing, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, but and that's when they're not even listening. I'm just basically talking to myself right now. They're waiting for me to finish. They're even trying to race to cut in because they don't want to hear what I got to say. So when I'm in a situation like that, I find a way. I'll enjoy it. I'll still no. I'm gonna keep this thing open so we can still get our healing. So I'll say, you ain't even listening. I'll just turn it right back on them. I'll make every experience an enjoyable experience. So even them not listening, even them ignoring, even them maybe even being rude, I'm gonna enjoy that too. So you can. That's what sometimes that's. How's your day going? Oh, not too great. But I'm enjoying the bad times. I'm enjoying the good times. I'm learning to be grateful and to make gratefulness, to make gladness from every moment that I'm experiencing. Right. And of course I'm giving this when I say I'm speaking as if I'm speaking for you, almost in a sense. But sometimes we get into this thing where we're just going through the motions of what we think something should be because of what we were told it should be. So yeah, I got to do this. I met someone. It's got to be this, got to be that, got to be that. And then we create this dead embodiment or this dead carcass of what a relationship should be or what a relationship could be. We create a carcass in that sense. We don't invigorate in that sense. You see, so I'm telling you, it's such a key piece because so many of you, and we spoke about this recently when I said, there's a lot of single people in the new. I knew, why are you so scared to tell each other that? Why are you so scared, to choose each other? Some of you women, you listen to the men on the phone, or you see them in the chat room, or you see them on a Stool House site or whatever. You don't step forward. Scared to open up, thinking you're not good enough, so someone externally has to validate you as being good enough. Sometimes you have those situations. Women will say, well, I mean, why don't you tell me what you think of me? I've had that situation. A woman to send me pictures, email them to me or whatever, or send them through Instagram. I don't acknowledge the pictures. Well, oh, they're nice pictures. No, but I mean, what about me? You think I'm ugly and that? Why is that on the table? Why is that even important? What are you asking me that for? You see? Especially if you sent me something unsolicited. Why do you need my validation in order to move forward into what you want to do? Why can't you just allow it to be what it is? Or sometimes we have a standard list of not just requirements, but we have a standard list of I've seen this as well sometimes with students where they have this standard list of no-nos and they lead with their no-nos. Listen, let me tell you right now, I don't want this, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And then by the time they come back and tell me, yeah, Bobby, it didn't work out and I don't know what happened here. And, you know, you know, I don't know why it didn't work, and we'll say, okay, well, or I'll say, okay, well, how did you come into it? And the things that you want and you desire, that you make them so specific to the individual that now you boxed and caged that individual in. Because essentially there is a correspondence with there are people who align exactly with your higher purpose. There is a correspondence there where people align exactly with your higher purpose. And there are people who align with your motions, when you're just going through the motions. You see? So there's you have your God correspondence. I'm gonna just use simple language. You have your God correspondence. You have your devil correspondence. Your devil, or let's say your satanic correspondence, which is just your material thickness. The mental obstacles that you create for yourself. Well, those mental obstacles and those consequences and those toll bridges that you put on your stream of consciousness or your stream of cognition of love, they manifest into the world as people. So some of those people that you have people who are on settlements on the side. You could pull the boat over and they got an open market over there. They selling fabrics and food and this and that. It could be a group playing and you say, yeah, man, I'm enjoying this. I'm vibing out with the music, da, da, da. All right, I'm enjoying it. Let me get back on the boat because I'm a journey. It's a journey that I'm on. Let me keep going. Empress says, women are objectified in this culture. It creates insecurity and a need for external validation. I'd like to know what y'all think about that. Women are objectified in this culture. It creates insecurity and the need for external validation. Reflect on that. Empress 2009. I always glance at the chat room when there's something that I need to glance in for. I want you to think about that a little bit more. I don't know how long you've been listening, Empress. And when I say listening to the show, but the teachings that I've given before kind of speak to that a little bit. So I want you to kind of reflect on that a little bit. There might be some room there a little bit to kind of expand on that and to, tweak that idea a little bit, So yeah, essentially, again, sometimes we don't realize that we're attracting in, we're pulling in the obstacle, and the obstacle is manifesting. And sometimes we can attract people into our lives where they represent an obstacle to where we want to be. And you notice most of all, because again, the obstacles represent the lower material half of us, the satanic half, the obstacles, okay, since 2014, Chief, then you should be able to hit that. You should be able to hit that from a better angle. No pun intended, but you should be able to, yeah, since 2014, I think I've covered some of that, you should be able to kind of expand on that a little bit more. Just reflect on it. Just reflect on it. There's some stuff in there that you might be holding on. And a lot of times, and let me just say this, because y'all know it always feels like I'm picking on one person. I'm not. That's why I mention it. A lot of times, you guys are learning a lot of things, and I see you, and you're growing, but it'll be like one or two things or maybe more, where you just won't let go. Regardless of what I'm learning, like I said that time I'm doing a reading and I'm working with the sister, and she was just like, well, you still a nigga. At the end of the day, you just like the rest of them. I could have said, and I didn't say anything because we were working. I'm like, this is a sacred time, but tell you what, we all gonna speed this ritual up. You could best believe that. We are going to do the shortened version of this ritual. You're going to get the heck up out of here. In my house, calling me a nigga. So sometimes we hold on to certain obstacles, certain consequences, projections that may not totally add up sometimes. And I see that a lot of times with students, and if you kind of look at this last strong of shows, that's majority, that's a lot of what I've been talking about, letting go of certain perceptions and how we view ourselves and how we move around certain kind of people and things like that. But sometimes we have certain things that are birthed from our experiences. And sometimes we don't go through the experiences with our eyes wide open. And sometimes we take on a lot of projection from not this culture, their culture. So their culture says, I'm still just a nigga. This culture doesn't say that. You see? So we a lot of times we're inside of this monolithic idea of culture, a monolithic idea of society. So even despite our level of consciousness, that's why you hear some people say, they'll call and they'll say, well, in my real life, in my ordinary regular life, this is what I have to do. Right. So you've already established that which is external to your highest ideas and your higher purpose actually rules and governs you. And what you're doing right now is really just a momentary distraction, as opposed to the other way around, when your higher ideas should rule and govern, and that, your what you call your quote unquote real life, you should see that as a distraction, because that's just an obstacle in the path, in the stream of consciousness. So sometimes we tend to fixate on those obstacles a little bit more than we should, and that's very difficult when people have now established pain sensors and pain mechanisms, and they apply them to what they feel to be the obstacles are. And then sometimes once you're in that space, you ain't trying to hear anything. So regardless of what I've taught, for instance, like women want to be objectified, regardless of that, and the way I've broken that down and people have understood it, we understand it, or we listen to it for about 30 seconds. Yeah, that makes sense. He just broke that down. But then we go back to our consequence toll bridge, because we're still stuck at that toll bridge. We won't use that information to solve the riddle. And what I mean by that, if you look at most mythology, you have this idea of like a bridge. A bridge represents your transition, going from this point to that point. And every bridge, oftentimes, or every door even, requires a key, or it requires you to resolve some sort of riddle. And in solving that riddle, the riddle represents the key to transition from one point to the next. Now, a key, as I've said before in other segments, a key is a principle. Okay, so a lot of times when you see that word key, just replace it with principle. So if you say, like, I need a key to open the door, I need a principle to open the door. Okay, and that's what the 14 Principles, that book that I wrote, it represents that. In fact, one of the earlier covers that I had been messing with, I had a key on it, but it looked doofy. It looked scary, actually, because I had a skeleton key is the only thing that kind of worked, and it just, it looked like a horror book, so I took the key off. But yeah, it's the idea again of the principle was the key. So a lot of times we may be taught principles. We may be given the key. The riddle is solved for us, but we refuse to give the key or put the key in the door. We refuse to give that troll or that ogre or that seraphim, we refuse to, the cherubim, we refuse to say, here, okay, this is how I'm going to get through. Here's the key. Here's the resolution to the riddle. Because we've become fixated and almost satiated by the toll bridge or the troll at the bridge. We've become stuck. We don't want to go over it. So there's all this flow of information that's passing by us, because the information is going to keep flowing. So you picture it like you're sitting in a stream, a shallow stream, and you're sitting down and the water's just flowing over you. Now you can go in the direction of the water, right? Which is, of course, at some point going to require you to go into deeper waters or rougher waters, or to see a different experience than where you're currently at, but you refuse it. So what happens is The information is just washing over you. It's washing over you. But you never get the true understanding of the information because you have to apply it to get the understanding. You're not applying it. So you just have the knowledge of it. So essentially it becomes your clothing. But like I said, it's got to be in you, not on you. The way you get it in you is you apply and you move forward. There's a lot of things that I spoke about just now, even in this segment, that I know a lot of people won't apply. They'll agree with it. Yeah, that makes sense. But then what happens is their consequences kick in. You see, they'll say, that makes sense, but I would love to do that, but I've tried that. And there's an and in there too. I tried that, and this is what happened when I tried to do it. You see? So because there was a village or a settlement that you passed along the way, you use that as a determination that, you know, your heart can't get past the village. You can't keep flowing. That wasn't just a stop along the way, and that there actually is a destination, or as we spoke about, there actually is a destiny. You haven't tapped into the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding in order to sculpt and craft the destiny. So now you're unconsciously creating the stream as you go. And of course, you don't see a flow beyond your obstacle. So it's dry land. There's a drought in front of you. And all you have is this huge boulder that, you know, like you say, you know, too high to get over, too low to get under. You know, it's one of those type of things. You're stuck in the middle. Pain is real, you know. So, and that idea, you know, you're just sitting in the stream and you're allowing all of these good ideas and things. And because you're constantly being washed, in a sense, by the information, you figure like, okay, well, this is good. You know, at least I'm in a good place. Well, remember, water erodes. The knowledge and wisdom will erode you eventually if you just sit there, if you're stubborn. It's just like the boulder or the stone in the river. It's going to erode you. It's going to, the boulder or the stone or the rock, eventually it will be eroded away because of the consistency, the velocity, and the frequency of how the river moves. So if you don't move with it, you will be broken down into nothing. It's no different in your love relationships. You have to learn to enjoy them, or you get broken down into nothing. And your love relationships come in so many different forms. So many different forms. And your key is to say this. With all of the different artistic expressions, that there are in the world, how many different ways can I create? And how many different ways can I share creation? How many different ways can I share authoring? I'm going to get into that. We're going to take one more little final break, and then I'm going to come back with this. Again, the calling number is 515-605-9862, 515-605-9862. And if you have any questions, just put them in the chat room. All right, we're going to take one quick break. Of course, Sonic Libation, which is aligning up with what I'm talking about, and then we're going to come right back.
When we're together, this song must confess. make this moment last forever. Slowly we pace each other's lane. Surely we can give each other pleasure. And so gently we feel each other rain. Ooh. Can we make each other so? Hey, baby. Can we create a bond that's close? Hey, then some of us confess. When we're together, life is motionless. When we're together, this is more than sex. When we're together, we get soaking wet. We get soaking wet. We get soaking wet. We get soaking wet. We get soaking.
All right, so we're back. We're back. And of course, we've been speaking about some of the inequalities that we need to, or we could take on, suggestion. Some of the suggestive inequalities that one could take on in order to open up and release some of the blockages that they actually have as it pertains to their love relationships. And ultimately, you find, especially some of the guidance that I gave earlier, is that it's allowing. Ultimately, it's if you listen to everything that I've been saying, there's a common denominator there. You're allowing something, and really you're allowing yourself to receive what it is that you've created. So even if you've created from your lower self, and you say, man, because I get this a lot with a lot of women who call and say, all the men that come to me, they just want me to be, they're all married. They want me to be this side chick. That's all I'm getting now. And then I might say to them, well, you pretty much just seem like side chick material. That's why. And of course, what are you talking about? I'm sorry. I'm a good woman. Right. And a lot of times you find this, I'll say, well, okay, well, how available are you? Even when you move through the streets, how available do you make yourself? Do you walk fast? Do you enjoy each moment? Do you stop in certain stores? Do you smile at people? And sometimes you hear, no, I just get to where I'm going. Right. What about your job? Well, my job consumes all my time. Well, now you've already expressed and put out into the world that you essentially are not going to make time for anything that you would actually enjoy. You're not going to make time for that. Now, in giving that off, of course, you're going to attract individuals who are aligned with that idea, who are aligned with that space. You see, so essentially you only have time to be a side chick. And that's what you're putting out. Now, there's a higher aspiration, there's a higher idea that is already sitting somewhere and waiting for you. And it only requires for you to align yourself and allow it. You see, now that particular song that I wrote, that I just played, I just entitled it Wet. I couldn't think of another title, but all these are old pieces. Like I said, I it's a way for me to utilize some of the old stuff that I have, that old songs and stuff that I've written and created and stuff like that. But especially the ones I never finished, and partly because when you play them over YouTube or you play them over Blog Talk, the quality is so low that you can actually hide the mistakes because the quality is so bad. It's like when you listen to old Motown songs, when they started coming out in the 90s, when they started going back and remastering all of the old Motown material and putting them on CD. Then it's like you heard the mistakes on the actual records. If you tuned in, you'd hear certain tambourine hits off. The bass player would be, James Jamerson mainly laid a lot of this stuff. He'd be playing stuff off and stuff, but when you listen to it on vinyl or tape, it all just kind of mushed together. It just sounded good, Sometimes remastering and going back and clearing things creates more problems than anything else, So even with that piece, if you notice the first line that I wrote, that singing is, how can we make each other better? I got confidence, your feelings are the same. How can we bring more affection, healing each other from the pain? You see, so essentially, not you're my wife, I want you to be my girlfriend, anything like that. And the idea of wet there, just so you know, like I said, this is more than sex when we're together. Life is motionless. When we're together making love, this is more than sex. So essentially what I'm saying, the image that I had when I was writing was two people playing, dancing by a riverside, and literally playing in the water, enjoying themselves, but healing each other through the enjoyment. You see, now that's a form of co-authoring, and it requires no, it requires no title. It's like with children to do together. When they get together and they play and everything, and they go into that state of bliss, they just play. And a lot of times we're not open and we're not willing to play in our relationships. Even sex has to be this very somber and serious activity. We can't laugh even through it and have fun and things like that. So the idea of getting wet and getting in the water, let's get in the water with each other. Let's dance. Let's slowly, as I said, slowly we pace each other's lane. So we're pacing each other. It's the law of correspondence in play. We're pacing each other and we're corresponding to each other in that sense. And through that and through our playing and through our enjoyment, we're healing. So there's a co-authoring that, like I spoke about earlier, that a lot of times we don't pay attention to in our relationships. We don't realize that, no, essentially the nature of a healthy or of a relationship is the nature of co-authoring with co-authority. You see, not co-leadership. So let me make that clear, because you've heard me say many times, no, I'm not into that. But there's different things that happen. Everything is not a man barking orders and a woman snapping to him. So a lot of times people get that confused. Sometimes I say, no, I'm the leader of the house. I'm not in that co-leadership. No, you're not walking side by side with me. No, get behind me. So some people look at that and they kind of get confused on that. And again, it's because of the external culture that they're using as their lens for everything. So then they'll immediately say, oh, he's a chauvinist. Most people don't even know what that word means. He's misogynistic. No, it's not that. You gotta listen. There's more going on in my mind than just that. It's not. You're not gonna get there so simple. You're not gonna get there as simple as you would like it to get there. But essentially, there's different ways and different times when we can mirror one another. Like I said, you look in my eye and see influential beauty. I look in your eye and see a better version of me. You see, so there is an exchange that goes on, and through each stop that we have in life, we're co-authoring with each person. So imagine if you sat back and said, I want to write my magnus opum. I want a magnus opus, or is it opum? Opum. I want to write my defining work, or sing or produce or create or express, that defining work, right? And you say, okay, but in order to do that, I have to go through certain experiences, that may lead me to that defining work. So if I want to create my defining expression, I'm not going to just create, let's say if I'm a composer, I'm not going to create one song, say, this is it, this is all it was ever going to be. And, sometimes we do that even in this society with our perceptions of what marriage should be. And we don't understand that there are various relationships, or like there's various songs. Like you hear me play all these old songs all the time. I've been doing that for years on this show. and I'm nowhere near to running out. I haven't, I'm pulling still from cassette tapes, with some of this stuff. It's because there's so much material that I've done, and I still haven't created my defining work. These are all just little scratch ideas I just throw up on the show, but they were all a process and a step to get to where I wanted to be and get to where I wanted to go. And I'm still traveling down that road as an artist or someone who creates, or as an expressionist. Even in terms of these shows and everything that I do is a step towards where it is that I'm going. So if you sat back and said, well, how many books could I author? In that sense, if I'm co-authoring, how many times could I create something beautiful and that I can enjoy? And how many different kinds of things could I create that are beautiful that I could enjoy? So then you start to understand, and you start to appreciate and respect and value all of the variation of individuals who may come in and out of your life, because you realize, well, I'm co-creating. Just like right now, when I do these segments, you always notice I say we, and I say we're talking about. You see, because right now I'm co-authoring with all of you. That's another aspect. So there's so many. It doesn't always have to be this idea of it's got to go to sex, or it's got to go to, you got to be my girlfriend, or you have to be my fiance, you have to be my wife, you have to be my husband. When we apply those titles in that sense like that, then we lose the value of the co-authorship. Because if we start to strip each other of our given authority in a situation, and sometimes we do that because we're afraid of opening ourselves up to the variations and the possibilities of what could be. We're afraid, we don't realize that the person that we just met has the key to open up the next door. But we might go through that door by ourselves. We don't want to do that. So we stay at each settlement. We settle. You see, but but if we recognize, like even now in doing these sessions, no, we're co-creating. We're co-creating even now. I'm co-creating with Shamika, with Darcy, with Michelle, with Anwar, with Byron, with Justin, with I Am Divine, Sister Marvin Nicole, Fasay, Brother Haru was here earlier, probably had to go to work. Brother Joel, who else? I'm co-creating with Omozuwati, Jennifer. Let's go right down the list. Strong Mind, Strong Body Fitness, Madam Ma'at, Sister Gina, Brother Dietrich, Empress 2009. Designs Not Defined. This is also my good dawning to everybody, by the way. So we're gonna mix it all into one thing. But all of you and anyone who I may have missed, of course, Sister L Jackson, we're co-creating with everyone, you see, or I'm co-creating with everyone, and co-authoring with everyone. All right. Now I'm just gonna glance in the chat room for a second, and see if there's any questions in here, and if not, then we're gonna head out. Y'all all over the place. So there's a lot of back and forth. So brother, I'll read some of the comments, and then as I'm looking for questions. Designs by Just Fine said, I have struggled with letting things flow. I'm somewhat of a control freak, afraid to be hurt. Yep. And if you notice, it's the same thing you asked about on the Destiny show. Where if you have PTSD and you become an overprotective parent as a result. See, so that's, it's an ongoing issue, obviously. Afraid to be hurt, so you become a control freak. Becoming a control freak is what hurts, because you're putting, anytime you're trying to mash down control like that, you're putting your focus on an illusion. You can't really control but so much. So you end up hurting yourself even more, as opposed to saying, whatever happened, if I've grown from what has happened, and I've raised my own vibration. See, because the thing is, when you're focused on the things that have happened harmful in your world, then you raise them to an unnatural vibration. There's always going to be things that have happened to you. There's always going to be harmful things. But when you're focusing on your destination, those harmful things fall to where they're supposed to. It's almost like if you look at it in your relationships, you may have an ex that maybe didn't treat you fair, maybe didn't necessarily do all the things for you or to you that would have been right or would have been healthy in that sense. And but you obsess over it. It could have been 10 years ago. It could have been 15 years ago. It could have been 2 years ago. But you can't stop thinking about it. You can't stop thinking about it. So now they come to the center of your thinking. They move right into the middle. And what happens though, if you focus on where it is that you want to be or where it is that you desire is to be, or align yourself, focus and align, because the aligning is key with where it is that you want to be, that experience will still be there in your past, but it will take up its rightful position. So it's just like having an ex. You may see that ex walking down the street and you remember them. It's not like I don't even know. It's not like you've grown so far. He's like, I don't even recognize you, but they've taken a proper positioning, not only within your psyche, but within your world environment. You're not calling anymore. You're not on the phone. You're not texting. You're not looking at their pictures on social media, things like that, or still trying to badmouth them or what. They've taken a different kind of position in your life. Maybe a position like an old teacher that you had in elementary school, who, they're still in my psyche, but they're not an active component to how I'm manifesting my world and manifesting my day. They're just a step. It's like I remember going up a step at some point to get to where I'm at. They were just a step. So they start to rest and fall to their natural positioning. Water reaches its own level, but sometimes we have a desire or we have a tendency to hoist people up and to hoist experiences up and to hoist thoughts up into a place that they need not be. Creates more pain. Brother Dietrich says, did you just reference the color purple in the same chat room? Or are you talking to chat room people? As people trying to elevate their mind with a fictitious abusive sex relationship? Y'all arguing about the color purple? I missed this. What's going on in the chat room? Okay, so Sister L says, if I, E-Y-E-I, it's coming. If I am going to spend my life with a person on a basic level, I should like them, period. Whoopi Goldberg had respect for Danny Glover in The Color Purple. Finances made them compatible. Pretty sure she didn't like him. Yeah, you might want to tighten that one up a little bit. You might want to tighten that one up a little bit. Brother Byron says companionship comes and once the family mission statement is being applied, companionship on the same mission. Brother Flint said, peace fam, been listening and enjoying the show for a while. I've been looking at how I express myself in regards to relationships and the women I attract and how ready I have been to varying degrees. Yeah, a lot of times that readying that we are to varying degrees that you speak about, Flint, a lot of times what that is us not acknowledging how sometimes we put the blockages of demands. That's a lot of times we're ready in a sense, but we get fearful, we get afraid, we get into a relationship, and we say, man, I gotta lock this down. Or if I just keep it casual or this or that, they're going to go over there. Or if I don't do this, or if I don't put this demand and this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And what happens in that sense, we may have attracted something that was in alignment, or we're in alignment with another person, but we start to put those conditions on the relationship and we lower the vibration back down again. And once the vibration is lowered, then we want to separate. We say, nah, I'm out of here. This isn't going to work. And a lot of times it's those loving separations, where you're lovingly saying this just isn't going to work. So I'm back to this color purple thing. This is actually kind of funny. This is where honesty comes to the fore. Dietrich said, that's when he said, did you just reference the color purple in the same chat room? as people try to elevate their mind with fictitious, abusive, sexist relationships. Elle said, yes, I did. The Color Purple had many great literary qualities. The chat room is petty. Oh my God. Now y'all at it again? Oh. Come on, y'all. Come on. You know, come on. I guess I have to read everything that went on, before. Come on, man. Didn't we just go through this the other night? Had to address it. Y'all messed around, got all that hate. I got hate mail all over the video. you know. I'll say this, L. Yeah, the Color Purple. I read the book and I saw the movies. Piece of trash, through and through. Piece of trash. I remember doing a session once with a group of young people, and they actually cited it. Like, because when you're young, sometimes you don't really have a point of reference when you watch some of that stuff, and it's almost like the story of Jane Pittman. People think that it was a real story. It's fictional. And they so they think those people are real. But yeah, you gotta, with the Color Purple, it's that's one of those you gotta watch with the eyes wide open, because it was, oh man, I mean, it was such a racist film. You gotta really watch what they were doing. Steven Spielberg in that one, and what he was really getting off in that one, and Alice Walker, I mean, she has no love for her people. She certainly has no love for men, so it's good sometimes to watch, and I'm not telling you, Al, to flip over how you feel about it or whatever, but sometimes it's really good to look at things within context, because a lot of times things are not as innocuous as they may seem. You have this movie with Mr., and obviously he was called Mr. because they were referring to him like he was a slave master. So Mr. is supposed to be master, and barely worked, slept all day, abused this woman, and somehow was able to keep his land and keep his property and things like that. And you find, and even in the movie, it's just a lot of, I mean, I don't even want to do the breakdown of Color Purple. It's just a piece of crap movie. The music was great, though. Quincy Jones did this thing on the music. The cinematography was also awesome. But that's how they get you, through music and images. If you actually even watch the movie, there was hardly any dialogue in the movie. If you really watch it, it wasn't too much dialogue. It was primarily images and music. And the book is very different, obviously, than the movie, with Celie and Suge and their relationship. I mean, they lived in a lesbian relationship for a while and lived together and all this. They don't really highlight that in the book. They just have that one little kiss. Even Squeaks and her being raped by the jail warden because Squeaks was the one who got what's the name, out of prison, Miss Sophia. But they, the movie is it's a piece of garbage. But I'm not gonna get on you, sis, about that. But yeah, you might want to check that in context, man. But the thing to do is to teach, man. If instead of getting on the sister because she referenced the Color Purple, explain, where you're coming from in terms of that perspective. I see L says a Color Purple reference is an issue because you are elevating police. See, now you're insulting each other. All right, I'm gonna get ready to shut this show down. So that's what happens. You talk about things like love relationships. Sometimes people can't handle it. But I would just say, and that's our responsibility as men, man. Instead of being frustrated or annoyed, because I get it. Yeah, that's a bad reference. It's a piece of crap movie. It's actually insulting, and of course that movie is very insulting to black manhood. That was his purpose and his point. Precious, the movie Precious is the new Color Purple. That was his point, to insult black manhood. And to dismantle families. So break that down. Explain that. to the sisters and the brothers, because Sister L has expressed, yeah, the movie has taught me something, and that's cool, but she may not be the only one who feels that way. There may be other brothers and sisters who may not have seen or picked up on the insidious agenda of that piece of film. It's good also to understand the history of some of those literary works, the history, understanding the authors, because you're having a conversation with that author. You even learn about Alice Walker and her campaign that she has against black women having children. Her daughter talks about that. How her mother cut her off when she had her son. Sometimes it's good to look at the history, look at the context again. But like I said, brothers, your job is to enlighten. You just gotta enlighten, and people will take on what they want to take on, and what they don't want, they leave by the wayside. It's all good. Just teach. Each one teach 10. And don't be so attached to the results. Don't be so attached to someone agreeing, because like I see you reference here, Dietrich says, I guess I'm wrong for trying to bring myself into a new frame of mind. My bad. I guess I'll go watch Tyler Perry, drink a 40, read the Bible like a good black man. Well, teach what the problem is with those things. Teach, brother. Teach. That's what I'm saying. You got to teach. If you feel that Sister L is off in her perception, she's not going to learn through cynicism. She can learn. She can learn. She can figure it out. You could teach it to her, or just teach it to everyone, what that's really about. And I understand. I get it. It's insulting. Tyler Perry is an insult. It feels insulting whenever I hear a woman lift her up. Him up. I heard that recently. Someone was like, yeah, well, I like Tyler because he gives all those old black actresses an opportunity to work. I'm like, you sound stupid. And I was listening to an elder, and I was like, no, no. No, we're not going to do that. So no different than when Flip Wilson used to wear the dress. I stopped rocking with him. He's an old comedian, Flip Wilson, but he wore the dress. Nah, man, I'm not rocking with that. That's an insult to my manhood. We're not doing that. So sometimes sisters don't recognize how insulting some of that stuff is, or sometimes they don't see it. Your job as a man, Dietrich, and all the other men listening, our job is to guide. Our job is to lead. So that means automatically we're probably going to know more of what's going on out here than those who we are supposed to guide and lead. That's just kind of a given. And I know a lot of times they don't act like it, but at least we should. So use it as a teaching opportunity, brother. I'll just say that to you. Use that as an opportunity to teach. Yeah. Color purple. All right. Well, hey, man, we get it how we get it. And you never know. Let me say this too, Brother Dietrich, because you probably don't know that, sister. You don't know if the color purple is what woke her up to her consciousness. You don't know the value that it may hold for her, or maybe her story might reflect some of that. I mean, obviously, the movie was very popular among women, primarily in the 80s when it came out. I think it came out in 87, because there was some degree, there was a narrative there that they were able to relate to in some ways, and the narrative, even some of what they related to was fictitious, because it was a narrative, again, the bestial black man. He's a beast, he's this, he's that. In the book, you find that after they split, when Celie ran off with Suge to go be in a relationship with her, that her and Albert, they were best friends. You get a hint of that at the end of the movie when you see her son comes back and he's in the field working and he just looks over there. But, they don't tell you that in the movie. But in the book, he was the one who actually arranged for the son and daughter to come back and see Celie. So just, yeah, man. Just teach. That's all, man. But like I said, you never know. Um, See, and L is now going off. See, this is the problem. Again, we doing this again, sisters. Y'all gotta learn when to chill, man. So now you're insulting, and now there's a rudeness now. Y'all being rude with each other, but come on, man, like pull it down a little bit. See, now you telling her to leave. Oh my God, let me end this show. I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this like what happened with Spirit Driven. We ain't doing this again. Y'all both acting too emotional. And again, this is where I'm speaking about the protocol between men and women. There's got to be some. And let me read what I'm saying, because sometimes y'all will hear me commenting and not hear the context of it. So L says everyone up in here must be at guru status then, ? Too good for the color purple. I use it as a frequent reference to a whole other point. Dietrich says, yes, the racist propaganda is beneath us. Next subject. L. Jackson says, PETTY, totally taken out of
90
context.
seconds.
But it seems that it is what y'all do best up in here. See, now you're insulting everybody in the room. Because you have a disagreement with Dietrich, you're insulting everybody. And Dietrich says, well, then leave. Come on, man. Relax. Both of y'all, relax. Neither one of y'all have anything to do with the color purple. You didn't make the movie. You didn't write it. You didn't make no money off it.
60 seconds.
Yeah, man. Bring it down a little bit, man. This is a teaching opportunity. But stop insulting one another. 60 seconds. Stop insulting each other because you disagree with each other. I know it's frustrating, but you got to understand that this is why I wrote the book, The 14 Principles, or The 14 Keys, because a lot of the stuff that we're arguing about and arguing over has nothing to do with us. Nothing. Zero. And we're arguing about it. So you hold it up against those keys. Now, I'm telling you, the movie was a piece of trash. But again, I don't know what kind of personal connections a person may have to that film, or what the film may have done for them or opened up for them in terms of their thinking or in terms of their awareness. But if I did have a big issue with it,
10 seconds.
10 seconds. But if I did have a big issue with that film in particular, I would use it as a teaching opportunity. You see, just like you see the reaction that I have had to different things that have been snatched from us as a people, my reaction is not to become antagonistic to those who may be attached to them, but it's to teach. Now, some things I don't even like Tyler Perry. Use as I'm not breaking down Tyler Perry's craziness. There's no point in doing. He's just a distraction. I'm not going to get distracted by that. But again, see, insults. I'm gonna read these, man, because y'all need to hear some of this stuff. L. Jackson says now, well, good for you! ! If you are at guru status, then you would know tolerance, and everyone around you is not at that level. I do not know you, was not referencing to you, and that is not, all caps, my reality! ! All right. Sometimes you all have to. Somebody in this disagreement that you two are having, somebody's gonna have to take the high road, a real high road. And I don't mean that the high road of all right, I'm just gonna let it go, because that's not the high road. Somebody at some point is gonna have to pull back and say this little argument that y'all are having back and forth was the purpose of the movie. This division that you're currently experiencing right now was the purpose of the color purple. Somebody is going to have to pick up on that and realize that, pull back, allow themselves to get whoever throws the last punch is going to they're going to have to just take that and then say, okay, you got that punch, but here, go to the higher road. Okay? Why is it that maybe that film was important to you? This, that. See, and y'all are y'all are like two pit bulls now that need the hoses sprayed on you, because y'all won't stop. See, all the stuff I'm teaching, I'm giving you, and you still going. Dietrich now says, you said y'all are best at being petty, which means you are talking about more than just me. So if we are petty, then you can leave. L Jackson, don't go anywhere. This is my show. This is my chat room. All right. So you just stay where you at, and you just keep learning. All right. And let me just say this: y'all are having. I didn't see the whole back and forth. So whatever it was, we talking about love. And L, aren't you a Oshun? The Omo Oshun? Dietrich's Omo Shango. You see this? You see Oshun and Shango going at it? You see this? They're supposed to be the epitome of love and passion. And look at them. Y'all probably end up sleeping together. But, yeah, man, that's how it is. You know, you bring up some of these subjects and it hits nerves, of course. And sometimes when you, yeah, you know, Omozuwati says this blew out of proportion real quick. Well, that's what happens, man. You know, that's what happens when you start tapping on and hitting on things that are actually going to change people, that are going to change your way of thinking. It blows up quick because there's certain defense mechanisms that have to kick in. You know, now seeking wisdom is getting in on it. Oh God, Dietrich, just pull back, bro. Just pull back. You know you can't argue a woman anyway. So that right there, you need to remember that. You cannot win an argument against a woman. You cannot argue a woman. And then women have this mafioso mentality, especially Black American women, you know, or Black women in the Anglosphere, because I know L is in the Bahamas. They may disagree with one another all day. I don't like being around women, but when it's an opportunity to gang up on a Black man, the Willie Lynch chip tells him, go get him, girl. So you need to just pull back, brother, because you ain't going to win this one. Because another woman's going to jump in on it soon. Watch. It's going to be you're going to be fighting them all off. You know, you're going to be the lion fighting off the hyenas. You better. So just pull back, and really, it's on you to take the higher road in a situation like this. The man has to take the higher road, bro. Pull back, start teaching, apologize. You was rude, they was rude. You apologize. Hey man, I shouldn't have talked to y'all like that. This is the point that I was saying. This is what I was trying to say. And you know, like I tell you, when it comes to manhood, it's not fair, but it's what we got to do. We have to do a lot of things that are not fair, but you know, that's the gift and the blessing of leadership. All right, so it didn't derail the show, Seeking Wisdom. You said that last time with Spirit Wisdom. It's not the show was over. This is all after stuff. I already made my points. That's why I said, yo, y'all can call in now if you want. It didn't derail anything. This is all bonus material. This is the bonus material on the DVD. You know, the big throwdown between Dietrich and L. That's what this is. Shango and Oshun clash. You know, in this corner we have the brokenhearted. In this corner we have the sexually frustrated. It's going down. You know, that's all this is, man. Don't worry. We didn't get derailed. We're cool, man. You know, everything that needed to be said was said already. You know, I'm just highlighting the back and forth because people who are not in the chat room right now, they may not hear what I'm commenting to, or sometimes it's important I'll bring these things out because it's important that people understand sometimes the feelings that come out when you're having certain discussions. You see, and like Michelle, you just said, let's enjoy the moment. Y'all enjoy y'all disagreement. Y'all should be enjoying this right now. Enjoy it all. These are the things that come up. Okay, cool. So let's look at it. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out how to get past this, because whatever L is saying, another sister's probably saying too. You see a whole bunch of people jump in and disagree with her. So, you know, so that tells you as a man, I'm speaking to Dietrich as well, you know, it tells you, okay, well, these are some of the things maybe I need to work with to deal with her, you know, dive into, just like the Tyler Perry thing. A lot of females ain't got an issue with that. You know, now us real men know it's degrading to manhood. We know it's degrading to womanhood, but some women don't even have the insight to see that. They don't even, so you have to teach. You have to teach it. I tell you, I enjoy The Color Purple. I have to tell you honestly, I enjoyed The Color Purple. There's 2 awesome scenes in that movie. 3 actually. One, when Mister was throwing them rocks at Nelly. Oh man, I can't think about that scene without laughing. It's the funniest scene in the world. Get off my lamb! Boom! He was throwing them rocks. Why? Because how you gonna be in this man's house? You eating up his food. You living there for free, and he says, "All right, now you got to give it up." And you say no. You kick him in the ball. All right, well, you got to go. And then when he threw her down the steps and she did that Superman, that was hilarious. Oh my goodness! And then the scene at the end where the grandma, where the father was going off. Oh, the dead has arisen. Maybe she can sweep Suge's caboose. See, all of that was hilarious, man. That was hilarious. I love that movie, man. So The Color Purple was great, man. Don't down The Color Purple. The Color Purple had some great scenes to it. Now, everybody be mad at me. Shift your focus. Stop being mad at each other. And be mad at me, cause I just laughed at somebody getting rocks thrown in their chest. That's gotta be worse than whatever it is that y'all arguing about. So focus, unite in your hate and your anger against Chief Yuya. All right. So I'm giving you a focal point. All right. I'm laughing at Nelly being thrown down the steps, getting hit with rocks, and the father cracking on Sophia and Celie. All right? That's got to be worse than whatever it is that y'all talking about, okay? I'll be the sacrifice. All right. We're going to head out. All right? And hopefully you'll head out and your vitriolic rage against Chief Yuya will overshadow whatever it is or whatever it was that sparked your whole back and forth. So whatever y'all think of each other, I'm worse. I'm more evil. I'm more cruel. I'm more whatever than whatever it is you're feeling against one another. All right. So that has been our segment, Finding True Love. And thank you, Oshun and Shango, for showing your asses. Thank you. We appreciate that. My people. Oh, we suffer because of a lack of knowledge. Oh my goodness. I'm working with y'all. I'm working with you. All right. So we'll be back this Sunday. Remember, we are covering the ideas of authority Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll be back with more Chief Speaks. And until then, we'll be on Sedula House. And again, remind y'all, we have some changes coming on, or that are the site is undergoing right now. So probably every day you're noticing something different, and that means that sometimes a link may be off or a link may be on or whatever. Just please be a little bit patient. I decided instead of taking the site down for a couple of days, that we would try to keep, because it's people in the middle of their classes and stuff. I didn't want to interrupt your learning. Instead of doing that, we would just keep working on it. So L says, I'll read your comment, L, because it sounds like it's a little more clear, and then we're going to go. You said, Chief, my original statement was taken out of context. It was my response to Byron who responded to my original statement. My reference was not the best. The point was we should like our mate. Okay, and you know what, Al? I'll say this. I saw some of that comment that you did make with Brother Byron, and I totally agreed with you. I was riding with you until y'all started insulting each other. But yeah, I agree. Now I don't know if that was actually how it went down, because I have to go back and read it myself. But yeah, I think we should like our mate. Now again, I glance at the chat room, so I might be missing some stuff. And then you also said many are married to folks they do not like. They may be compatible and respect, but not like the person, right? And Brother Byron has said, well, he had shared from a man's perspective. He said, from a man's perspective, we look for, if I remember correctly, and I could be saying this wrong, I'd have to scroll up. And we're getting ready to leave the show now. But if I remember correctly, Brother Byron had said, from a man's perspective, a man is looking for respect and compatibility. And I think he says something like, if he likes the woman, or if there is that like, then that's a bonus thing. I was scrolling real quick. Oh, here we go. He says marriage is about respect and compatibility from the male perspective. Like is a welcomed bonus. So I did see that little clip, and I know y'all were going back and forth. So I'm not gonna pretend like I got the whole discussion or anything, because I don't want to take anything out of context, and then y'all come at me like y'all come at each other. But you already got something to be mad about. All right, I laughed at Nelly. I laughed at Sealy. I sided with the evil father and him making fun of him and saying he's biscuit hard as rocks. This house ain't been cleaned right since your first wife. See, so I'm aligning with all that. So y'all hate me more. Trust me, I'm horrible. All right. So that has been our session, and you guys should work with each other. You finish to work it out. Work it out. Work it out. All right, we're family, and we're a dysfunctional family. So, those things are going to come up, man. And a lot of people walking with a lot of hurt, man. And believe it or not, those movies are hurtful to real manhood. That's what I wrote in my song. Want to crush me because I'm strong. That rhymed together. In a world of weak men, I guess I'm wrong. Look at what I said in that. In a world of weak men, I guess I'm wrong. Sometimes you sisters don't want to hear how much we can't. We're offended by some of these things. We're offended by, I don't want to get into it because this takes us down another road, so, and men sometimes don't express it enough. They're afraid of the condemnation that comes when you go against some of these messianic figures, in the community, like Tyler Perry, or even Alice Walker with her crazy mixed up self, even Angela Davis, even Maya Angelou. We have to look at all of these people with a sense of reverence, even though we know that they may be doing something or have done something that is totally offensive to our manhood. In many senses, when I'm speaking about relationships, I'm telling you as well, like, some of the ways we come at the women in terms of what we put on them is offensive to their womanhood. They don't even know it they don't even know they're being offended. Like, they don't even know that the color purple was a shot at them. They don't even know it. They don't even know that these Tyler Perrys, he's insulting your intelligence. Y'all don't even know it. So it's our job to teach. It's our job to teach, man. So that's all I'm going to say, man. Love up. And Oshun and Shango, yeah. Good job, y'all. Good job. Don't worry. In the Patai Keys, Oshun and Shango, they argued too. They didn't always get along. That's why Rumula was able to snatch her up. All right, everyone. Enjoy your Friday. All right. Be safe. And I'll see you all this Sunday for Chief Speaks. All right. Or on the Sedula House site. I'll vibe with you all over there. Peace.